Islay, favoured residence of the Lords of the Isles, crowned here in the presence of their kinsmen. 'Tis a place rich with legends. Rivers tumble down through the moors, pure mountain water stained tan by the peaty earth, a magical ingredient used by the alchemists of BOWMORE.
Couldn't get anything better than this. It's just beautiful.
A nice place to be, safe place for your children to be.
When you've lived here all your life, you appreciate the island.
Back doors are never locked and your front doors are never locked.
The distilleries do make it unique. To my way of thinking from the other islands, it's not just sort of fills and stuff with, wee crofts and stuff like that. The whiskey's the thing that makes, it's the magic for me is the whiskey. My name is Eddie MacArthur and I'm the head brewer here at BOWMORE Distillery in Islay. I'm responsible for the day-to-day running of the distillery. When I come in the morning, the first thing I'll do is go into the malt barn and we'll check through the malt floors to make sure that the barley's germinating the way we want it to be and that the floors are being attended to. I'll move on down through into the mash house, check everything's okay, check the mashing's been done right. And the original gravities are fine, because if we do have a problem with that, we would have to check our grinder to make sure that we're getting a consistent grind for our grist. Move on in through, check fermentation is going along nicely, into the still house, and check with the stillman that everything's running correctly in there and there's no problems there. What I'll do then is go into the safe, take out the keys, get Ginger Willie, who's the head warehouse man, and I'll open up the warehouses for him so he can get access to the warehouse to do whatever he has to do in there.
The three ingredients that are recognised legally for Scotch whisky in the raw materials is water, barley and yeast. The river Laggan was important to us because when you're looking for water for a whisky distillery, you're looking for really three main things. And the main things is free of contaminants. There's plenty of it and it's cold. But at BOWMORE we're looking for something extra because what we've got in BOWMORE, which is different from other distilleries, is we've got our own malt barns. So we need this water for steeping our malt. The barley that we source, the type we use is Optic barley, and we source it from the east coast of Scotland. It's very important that because we're making Scotch whisky, it's Scotch raw ingredients that we use. So the barley is very, very important. It's one of the three recognised ingredients.
My name is David Turner. I work in the malt barns. I've been here for just over 16 years. What we're trying to achieve is turning the starch in the barley into soluble sugar that will be later on used in the process in the mash tun. We wet it 3 times for 36 hours, changing the water 3 times, wet it for 12 hours, drain it for 12 hours, repeat that another twice. Then the barley's laid on the floor, as you can see. We have 7 ton in the floors here. When the barley's brought into the steep, it's about 12% moisture. It won't grow at that, so that's why we steep it in the water. When it comes out the steep, it's about 40 to 44% moisture. We leave the barley on the floor for 5 to 7 days, depending on the time of year. After 24 hours, the barley is ready to be turned. The germination starts to take place. This one's starting to grow. You see the small chit at the end starting to germinate. You've got to turn it every 4 hours, day and night, to control the temperature and rate of germination. If we don't turn it every 4 hours, day and night, it'll all knit together and you get one massive bed like that. We burn our peats for 18 hours in BOWMORE to get the flavour we want, and then it's dried. It's in the kiln altogether for 60 hours. And when it's dried, down below 5.5%, The malt is then transferred to the malt bin in the malt deposit, where the mashmen use it as required.
When we've malted the barley, what we have to do with what is now malt, we have to grind it down into what we call grist. So we pass the malt through a grinder, it goes through rollers, and it's crushed down into the grist. And that is the grist. The grist is what we pass through into the mash tun and mix it with the hot water. That's what the mash consists of.
I'm Lewis Boyd, I'm the mashman. This is the mash house. The malt comes through from the malt deposit, through the mill, it gets ground in the mill, comes through here into this grist bin here, where it goes in here, knitted with the hot water. And it turns into wort and gets pumped up into the wash baths. And after half an hour we add yeast, and then after 3 hours we put the second water on, and then 2 hours after that the wash back's in, and that's the mashing process finished.
My name is William McKechnie. I am stillman in BOWMORE distillery. 39 years I've been working in this distillery. I've been in the still since 1981. What's pumped to the wash bucket is worts, and it gets set in the wash bucket 17 degrees centigrade. Yeast is added after 1 hour running. It's left fermenting for 44 hours, and we then pump it to the distillers.
My name's James McTaggart. I'm one of the 3 stillmen at BOWMORE, and my job is to make sure that the new spirit that's produced at BOWMORE is of the quality and the profile that the company is looking for. I've been making whisky now for 30 years, and the whole of these 30 years I've been at BOWMORE. I started in BOWMORE in the malt barns, malting, and then I moved to the warehouse, and then I was 10 years mashing, and now I've been 12 years in the distillation side. How the distillation process happens is alcohol boils before water. So pure alcohol boils at 78 degrees. So what we're going to do here is put the wash into the wash stills at 8%. We boil it up, and it boils for about 7 hours. And we're boiling up the still, the vapours rise up the still into the condenser, down into our spirit safe. So at the end of our 7 hours distillation process, all we've left in the bottom of the still is water. This is our 2 wash stills, 20,000 litres into each still. We boil them up. How we boil them up, we've got steam plates in the bottom of each still. Live steam goes through them. The live steam boils up the wash. Vapour rises up the still into the condenser, down the condenser, through into the spirit safe and into the low wines and faints tank. This is our spirit stills. We boil up our spirit stills. For the first 35 minutes, it's full of the impurities and congeners that we don't want. So after 35 minutes, the stillman decides he's going to collect the spirit. So the vapour's still rising up, hitting the condenser. By that time he's cut the spirit back, so the vapour going up the still is very, very slow. It's just nursed up the still, it's not been pushed up the still. Hits the top of the condenser, again the vapour turned in, condensed into a liquid. That liquid is our new spirit. It comes into the spirit safe about 74%, and we to get down to 61%. It's very, very important that the reflux, that's the amount of vapour that's rising up the still, some of it is allowed to drop back in, and that's very important to the final BOWMORE new spirit.
My name's Ginger Woolley, and I'm the head warehouse keeper here at BOWMORE Distillery, and I look after all the casks. You have to have good casks to put whisky in. If you've got good wood management, and if you've got good casks and you've got good whisky going into it, you're going to get a really good whisky. You know, we get nice sherry casks from Spain and all these places, and after 5 years we can see the benefit of it, because there's lovely colour in the casks and such things, you know. You need a good cask to put good whisky in, you know, because at the end of the day the benefit is in 10 to 15 years time you're really going to have a tremendous whisky coming out of these casks. this warehouse that actually we're in at the moment is very famous. It's called the famous Vaults at BOWMORE. One of the best warehouses to mature whisky in, right beside the sea, thick walls, and the temperature now, it just stays the same from one end of the year to the other end, you know. It's just the same temperature and all that. Ideal for maturing casks. Every morning if we're going to have a filling, we have to prepare casks for the filling, for stenciling and such things, and make sure that the hoops are nice and tight and such things, and then do our filling, and then we have to remove them to the warehouses, and then from then on it's looking after them until it's time for them to go back out. Well, you can tell we're tapping the casks are leaking because of the sound. You get a wee kind of hollow sound, and that hollow sound means that the cask leaking someplace. You might not notice it, but it could be dripping underneath or such things. So, yeah, that's very traditional in here. The way we work, you know, we don't want to be too modern for this type of work, you know, because it's such ideal. There's lots of peat here, millions of years old, millions and millions of years old. And the growth, this new growth comes all the time. You need your peats for your flavour and such things, you know, and your barley and malt, so they use quite a bit.
BOWMORE Distillery has been in existence since 1779, and the turnover of staff through all these years have been very, very small, and you'll see that by the amount of experience that's in the distillery. It's important that the learning skills of how whisky is made is passed on from one person to another. And if you're going to a mechanical side where it's computer driven, these skills can be very easily lost. So it's very important for us that the skills are held by the men and not by machines. So in the malt barns, the skills are held there by, we traditionally turn the floors. The three stillmen have got over 30 years experience of each man. So there's nearly 100 years of experience in the actual stillhouse itself.
We have to have the succession for us to you know, we've got so many years experience of doing it. We've been taught by guys that really knew their job, and we like to think that we're quite good at our job as well. So we have to pass on, our knowledge has to be passed on to the guys. Because, you know, BOWMORE being a premium dram, and we're always striving, you know, to be perfect.
The people that make it, I think that's the bit of magic is in it, you know, because that, you know, there's wee secrets in making whisky, but people don't want to talk a lot about these wee secrets. But there's a bit of magic in there. There must be, I think, you know, because at the end of the day, they're producing good whisky. Somebody's going to turn round in 10 or 15 years' time and say, that was tremendous whisky you had. Well, that's then you know we're really doing something right, when people can come back and say, that's good whisky and it's a great, you know, it's selling well all over the world and all that. You know, that makes you feel better to turn around and say, well, at least we've done something right, you know. People are happy with what we're making. Aye.
Perfection for me is the 1964 whisky that we sent out from the distillery about 3 weeks ago. That whisky really is a benchmark that we have to set for ourselves to strive to reach with all the whisky that we're making. If we can reach that standard, then that is, for me, is perfection.
We see ourselves as just caretakers of the BOWMORE spirit, and we're just passing it on in a moment of time to the next generation that's coming on.